That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book. That's not a comic book.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Comic Reviews. I hope the intro worked. I'm not sure how well it played off. It's kind of a lot of things to keep track of. Anyway, we've got a lot of books to cover tonight, so I'm really not going to wait too long for people to get here, but I do like to give a little time so that everybody's aware. So I'm going to do some clickety-clacking over here and get some stuff set up so I can see if anybody's joining the show. Hope everyone's doing well. If you're watching this after the fact, after it's been posted, I'm going to remind everyone, as I always like to do, there are timestamps down in the description. So do not miss those. You don't have to sit here and watch me wait for people, though sometimes I'm told I can be quite entertaining. Who tells me that? Me. And whose opinion do you trust more? You come to me for comic reviews, after all. Gonna sip some of that haterade real quick. Anyway. Yeah, I hope everyone's doing well. We do have a monumental week, though. This is a big stack of comics, guys. And I still got a really good trade to talk about. So, yeah, strap in for a long episode. Hi to Zorro Fan Productions. Thank you for making it, as always. I got a lot to get into. There's, of course, the very famous Action Comics 1000 coming up tonight, so if you're excited for that. I will say I've made a pledge to start donating to the Hero Initiative the value of the most expensive book I bought every week, and so this week I'll be donating $8 to the Hero Initiative charity. Now, if you don't know what the Hero Initiative is, the comic book industry is a very dark and twisted industry, and it has had a pretty harsh history for its creators. And a lot of guys got screwed out of what they really deserve for all their hard work, guys and gals, of course. And so the Hero Initiative tries to help some of those people that got hit really hard, or people who maybe got treated well enough by the industry but fell on really hard financial times and just need the extra cash to scrape together. So I think it's a really good charity. I've heard a lot of great things about it, and I think it's a worthy cause to support if you're a fan of comic books as a medium. And yeah, they could really use some help. So I've made it my pledge to every week I'm going to donate however much the equivalent of the most expensive book I bought. I wish I had the money to donate the equivalent of my poll, but as I've said, got a pretty big stack tonight, and I just don't have the extra $45. It was an expensive week, guys, but that's alright. It balanced out. I had like a $10 poll earlier this week, so it evened out. Anyway, I'm not seeing many people show up, so we're just going to go ahead and get into it, because we have plenty to talk about tonight. Look at this stack. Look at that. That is absolutely ridiculous. Alright, so we'll be starting tonight with Daredevil number 601, followed by Black Hammer Age of Doom number 1, Mr. Miracle number 8, Super Sons number 15, Batwoman number 14, Batman number 45, Action Comics number 1000, history-making issue right there, Sonic the Hedgehog number 3, Batman Wonder Woman Brave and the Bold number 3, Bombshells United number 16, and then for Trade Talk tonight we'll be discussing Justice League of America Rock of Ages. This is volume 3 in Grant Morrison's Justice League run. So, like I said, tons of stuff to cover tonight, and yeah, I can't really afford to wait much longer. It's been a little under 5 minutes, so I'm gonna let it hit that 5-minute mark, and we're just gonna go, folks. We're going to get into it. So I'm gonna take another sip, and we're gonna start right after that. Hope you are strapped in and ready, because let's start. Daredevil, number 601. Charles Soule continues to be such a wildly different writer just in quality book to book, because if I were reading his Daredevil, like if I were a big Daredevil fan, I'd been reading this for months, and then he got announced on Darth Vader, I would have been like, yes! That's awesome, because I love Darth Vader, and I love what Charles Soule's doing in Daredevil. So of course he's going to be great on Vader. But as it was, I was reading Darth Vader comics and Star Wars comics, and then Charles Soule got put on Vader, and it was an extreme drop in quality from the previous Vader series we had. Not that he took over the book, but they gave him his own series. And so, I don't know what it is. Some guys, some writers, I feel, in comics really tend to overextend themselves so they can be brilliant on one book but not brilliant on another, which is why I'm a person... I mostly follow characters. I mostly have an interest in what a character is getting into, really regardless of the writer. Which is why I will give a book a chance even if I don't really care for the writer that much, if I like the character. And I'll be worried about it and I may be harsh on it, but I will usually give a book a chance because I'm more of a character guy. And this is kind of why. Like, even if I don't really like a writer, they can have a really great voice for one character over another. And this is kind of a perfect example of that. I'm really enjoying this, so they do a good job of summing everything up. I think this is funny. So, if you read Marvel Comics, they always have this catch-up page that, like, explains who the character is and the situation they're currently in and everything. And then it gets into the story, and that's actually really useful because it means you don't have to kind of derail your story to catch up the new reader, and it's often, like, it's very tropey. You can kind of tell, okay, now that everyone else is caught up, like, if you've been reading the book, you can actually usually skip the first page or two in a comic sometimes. But this one was kind of unnecessary because it did a good job of setting up and explaining everything that had been happening up to this point with just these first two pages in a really natural and like in a way that really pulled you in. Whereas, so like you almost didn't need this. I just thought that was funny. So anyways, Daredevil's in cuffs, but Matt Murdock has just been made the mayor of New York City in this crisis, and he's got to find a way to get out of cuffs when suddenly some ninjas try to kill him. He fights the ninjas and breaks free of the cuffs, gets back to the mayor's office, and is now Matt Murdock is the mayor of New York City. He lets the superheroes that were caught in the previous issue go. So a little bit of short-lived drama there. And they go out on the street to fight the ninjas while the police are going to protect people. And Matt Murdock fires Wilson Fisk's little lapdog Wesley here. And so, yeah, ta-da, Matt Murdock's now in charge of New York City, and he's gonna save the day, but the evil machinations of the Hand are now turning in the background. So overall, I thought this was a pretty good issue, pretty solid. I'm enjoying it. I'm invested in the story, which, like, if you're not invested in the story, it's not a good story, but I am legitimately enjoying this. I'm interested in it, which is more than I can say for how I usually have tended to feel about Charles Soule's stuff so far on both Vader and Poe Dameron. Though Vader's ticking up, I dropped Poe Dameron, unfortunately. Soule's just really kind of writer for me. So, who's doing the art on this? Henderson. Mike Henderson. I really like his style, though I feel like what I really like the most about this is Matt Milla, M-I-L-L-A. I really like his shading and coloring that he does here. There's just a great mood to this. The palettes that he uses, the lighting effects that are going on, it just really works for me, and it's the most engaging part of the book, I feel, art wise. So really enjoying that. Zorro Fan Production says, you should start a Zorro comic book series. Have you ever thought about that? Do you mean like writing one? Because I would love to write a Zorro comic. If you want to do art for free on a Zorro comic, hit me up. I don't have the money to pay an artist, unfortunately. And if you're doing a comic book and you're doing the art on it, either you should be getting paid or you should be an equal partner. It depends on if you want to take that risk. But yeah, if anyone wants to hire me to do a Zorro comic book, or if anyone wants to volunteer to draw a Zorro comic book for me, let me know. If you mean like I should start reviewing a Zorro comic series, there aren't any. It's disappointing. Dynamite has the license, and Matt Wagner got two books. He got 2 solid runs. That, like, I think the first one went for like 24 issues, and the second one went for like 16. And maybe not even that. So, it's just, it didn't sell enough. Django Zorro is really good. Did a Geeky Gentleman on that if you haven't checked that out. But there aren't any Zorro comics right now. Believe me, if they announce one, I'm all over that shit. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to Black Hammer, number 1. Black Hammer Age of Doom number 1. So this is the confusing thing about comics, and these are one of the gimmicks that they use to try to sell comics. Black Hammer had 2 volumes, Secret Origins and The Event. And that's when the book was just called Black Hammer. And then there was Black Hammer, Sherlock Frankenstein, and the Legion of Evil, which was kind of like a prequel series. But now we're back to the main story of Black Hammer with the new number 1 to try to, pull in new readers, all that stuff. And this is, it's fine. I really like Black Hammer, and Black Hammer is a really interesting universe. This is dealing with, like, the whole mystery and machinations, and I don't know. I can see why that might be, like, really attractive to try to pull people in. But for me, the thing I like about Black Hammer is the character stuff, the really, really deep and tragic character stuff. And that just doesn't have a lot of this. Like, it definitely hints at it, and it's definitely capitalizing on all the character drama that's been progressing to this point. But it doesn't really get into it. It just kind of continues it in favor of advancing the plot some more. Though we do get some moments, like with Golden Gale. That was a pretty good one. So there's a lot going on here that's really interesting as we move the plot forward, and Lucy is now the new Black Hammer. She picked up her father's hammer and got the powers of the Black Hammer. And so that was pretty cool. I love the design they give her. It's really freaking awesome. Find a good panel of it. And it's about the best full-size one you get right here. I love that. The fro. The fro's so cool. It totally fits with that whole, like, 60s, 70s comic book style. So, I don't know. Otherwise, yeah, she's, like, says she's finally figured everything out, and she's gonna explain it all, and then she just pops out of existence. And they're all like, what the fuck is going on? They're all mad, and they just want to go drink. They just all want to go drink because they don't know what the hell's going on, and they kind of recap all the craziness, but then we go to Lucy, and she's woken up in some strange place and doesn't know what's happening. It's like a bar, and then all these creepers show up at the bar, and she's just stuck there, and she doesn't know what's going on. So yeah, still pretty good. Just, it's a very involved series. She tries to leave the bar, and just ends up back upstairs, which is weird, and so it looks like she's in hell, seems to be the implication, and that's cool. I'm down for that, as this keeps getting deeper and creepier and whatnot. I love this 2-page spread, though. This is great. All these character designs are so cool. This dude over here with the hat and the red skull face and smoking, I really like him. He's neat. Otherwise, yeah, it's good. It's not the heartstring pulling volume that Black Hammer was, but I'm sure given time we'll get there, and I'm just excited to be back to Black Hammer, so that's pretty sweet. Alright, let's go ahead and go on to Mr. Miracle, number 8, written by Tom King with art by Mitch Gerads. It's not incredibly depressing, which is shocking, given this book's track record. It doesn't have a moment that like makes you fear that everything is not going to be okay. It actually ends up working out in the end. For the most part. There tends to be there's like a moment of scary oh my godness, and there's some depressing shit like a baby parademon is just brutally killed. So I don't want to like sell it like this is the issue where everything's okay. No, it's still really dark. It's just nothing really dark is happening to Scott or Barda, except that Scott's getting, brutally maimed in battle and having to kill. Which, I mean, I don't know, there's something about the physical manifestation of pain feels refreshing in this book that is just, like, haunts you so often. And so yeah, that's pretty nuts. I think the best moment in this is when Scott is watching his son walk for the first time and encourage him to walk, and they're calling him over and they're like, good job, buddy, you did so good. And it's like, that's my Jack, he's the king. That was sweet. That was pretty sweet. And, I don't know, there's a lot of mirroring, and there's a lot of deep shit going on here, I think. Ultimately, I'm having a harder time, getting into what this book is about as much now that I don't I don't have time to really think about it, and I feel like it's a really deep book and there's things going on in it, and some of this stuff seems like really obviously it's hinting at something. I'm just not quite there yet. I need to give this a couple read throughs before I can really start drawing a lot of conclusions from it, which I know is like, well, you're a reviewer, why didn't you read it multiple times before reviewing it tonight? I'm like, guys, I do a live show, come the fuck on. There's only so many times I can read something, but it was pretty good. I really like Mitch Gerads' art. He shows some brutal shit happening, and it's just, oof, like, there's a mass grave in this book. That's pretty scary. Oh, man. All right. Not really. I don't have a lot to say about this one. It is good. It's really, really interesting. But I don't really know what else I can say. 1 second, please. I'm going to move my microphone here. Akuma Ranger says, foolish, Ian. It's about Darkseid. Duh. Yeah, shit. How did I not realize? Let's see, our Zorro fan production says, also, if you like Zorro, you should check out Tales of Zorro. It's a book with every Johnston Macaulay original story ever published. Interesting. I tried to read through the original Macaulay Zorro book, and I just, did not hit for me as well as I'd hoped it would, but who knows. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to Super Sons number 15. And man, I really like this book. It's really good. It's really fun, and it sucks that it's over. Almost. I think it's got 1 or 2 more issues left. There's a running gag here about being in love with noodles. That was pretty good. Damien's working out and trying to do, what was it, 60 push-ups. Damien, you forgot how to count, because it says 59 in this panel, and you're trying to do another one, and you're still saying 50. You should be saying 60 at that point. There's an error. Anyway, I like this scene, though. He's trying to do push-ups, and he's like, why can't I go? And then he looks over to the side, and John's just got a finger on the dumbbell. Oh, that's... Oof. That's too good. I really like these two's relationship. Anyway, they're hanging out in their underwater clubhouse. Again, that's so cool. When suddenly Kid Amazo breaks in and causes a flood, and so they've got to try to get out while John's in the middle of fighting him, and yada 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 yada. I like where this story is headed, though. It's pretty good. So they're working on getting to the surface. Robin's trying to swim there, but he's running out of strength very quickly. John wakes up and he starts to fly him there, but then Kid Amazo is still coming after him, still working on getting to him, and grabs John, pulls him under. Robin is unable to pursue because he can't hold his breath any longer, so he has to go up for air. And when he is, Cyborg's there to help him because of sensors going off, and then they go to start figuring out what happened to John, where to look for him, yada yada yada. Kid Amazo's got him on an oil rig, and he's fighting. He wants John as a power source, and he also wants the entire Justice League as a power source. So the Super Sons and maybe the Teen Titans are going to have to save the Justice League. So that's pretty cool. I like that. I like the premise of that story. That's fun. Again, the thing that sells this is John and Damien's relationship, and they have a great dynamic. And it's cool stuff. I really, really dig the hell out of this book. Super Sons is continuing in one-shot specials and graphic novels, apparently. Thank you, DC gods. Thank you so much. That is like the best news I've had all day. It's not like been a bad day or anything. That is just the best news I've had all day. Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for that, Akuma Ranger. If that is a lie, I will hunt you down and murder your family. Oh, man, that's really great. Oh, cool. Yay. I'm really happy. Oh, yay. So good. I was so disappointed when I found out Super Sons was ending. The fact that it's going to get to continue proper in graphic novels and stuff. That's exciting. You know something else that pissed me off? I've been working on collecting all of the Silver Surfer run by Slott and Allred. I've gotten 3 of the, I think, 6 volumes in trade. So I could collect it all and read it all and do a series on it here on the show. They just announced a hardcover omnibus collecting all of it in one big edition is coming out in July. Why you do this? I even asked Mike Allred and Dan Slott on Twitter, hey, do you know if there are any plans to do an omnibus anytime soon on that or anything? They're like, nope, not yet that we know of. I'm like, all right, well, I'll probably just hunt down the trades and get it that way, and then by the time I have them all, they'll announce an omnibus. And sure enough, I was gonna buy the remaining trades probably this weekend or something. Maybe next week or something like that. Sure enough, they announced the thing, so I've got to see if I can sell these maybe to my comic shop in exchange for store credit, and get the trades that way, or get the omnibus when that comes out. So, Silver Surfer, we'll get there. We will get there. Oh, all right, let's go ahead and move on to Batwoman, number 14, Fall of the House of Cain, Part 2, written by Marguerite Bennett, with art by Fernado Blanco. Noel Martinez says, I'm so disappointed I didn't get a notification about this. How much did I miss? We're about 4 books in. Sorry about that. I tried my best to try to get online relatively early, but, you know, we're only about 20 minutes into the actual review process, and believe me, we've still got plenty to go. Alright. Anyway, so Batwoman number 14 by Marguerite Bennett, and Fernando Blanco on art. So I will admit, with 13, I was a little disappointed by the direction, the twist that things had taken, that, Kate's sister, Alice, or Beth, who goes by Alice, was like the under-lurking villain this whole time. Or not even her, actually, but, what's her name? Tafani? She's the actual, like, mastermind, though it's kind of interesting, because Tafani is a mercenary. She's a hired hand combatant. She knows that she's not a super villain genius. But she hates Kate Kane, and she's got the motivation that comes with hating someone and wanting to see them suffer that, you know, exists in comic book universes. So her master plan is that she knows Kate Kane's sister can become a supervillain if not given the proper treatment. And so she brings her sister back into being a supervillain. And is working with / under her to destroy Kate Kane's life. And that's interesting. I don't know, there's something to that idea, that Tafani isn't an idiot or anything, but she's not a master tactician planner or anything. I don't know, I kind of like that. That's a unique way to do a villain team up kind of thing, because usually it's like the master genius uses the super combatant, but here it's kind of the other way around. I like that. And I like what Alice's ultimate plan is, because Kate has destroyed everything in her life and other people's lives until becoming Batwoman. And so she adopted the Bat. And there's just this whole speech, because Marguerite Bennett loves her speeches, but I'll just cut to the chase of it. They've developed a super infection, super virus, to attack the population of Gotham and put it in an animal. The viral disease sickening vermin that you have chosen over your own family. The Bat. So they've created a super virus that's like Ebola, AIDS, all of it mixed together, like Ebola, AIDS. And they've released it on Gotham with thousands of bats to destroy the symbol of the Bat. Like, to make people fear the Bat and not be able to look up to it, to destroy what the Bat means to Kate Kane. That's really, really interesting, because when you talk about addiction, there's this idea that, or one of the steps to dealing with addiction is to admit or give in to a higher power. And that doesn't necessarily mean religion. It just means accepting that you are a person with flaws and that maybe you cannot be the master of your universe, that something controls your life more than you do. And for Kate Kane, that's the idea of the Bat. The idea of the ideal of the Bat. She has given into that higher power, let that work through her to be a better person and deal with her addictive personality. At least the way Marguerite Bennett writes her. And so the idea to destroy that symbol is really fucking interesting and meta as shit. And I love it. It's like, it's this really great blend of stuff. I've not used my drawing pad in weeks, months even. So I'm not gonna draw on it, but I can still do something. So it's this really great blend of things because with a lot of superhero stories, you get like one circle, and this is like cool, evil plot. So this is, you get this circle, and this is like cool, evil plot. This is like the, you know, the penguin's going to release rocket-powered penguins and destroy Gotham. It's just like kind of a wacky, cool, fun thing. Or you know, Doomsday is coming, and he takes on the Justice League with one arm tied behind his back like it's no problem, and Superman's the only one left that can fight him. Like, that's that really, like, it's a big, bombastic, it's scary, it's cool. The stakes are really high. It's something that only comics can do. And then you get this other type of storytelling that I really like in comics that I tend to like more. And this is like the, you know, serious character driven stuff that you get. Like, the, you know, this is your Dark Knight Returns. This is your Mr. Miracle's more serious, grounded, character driven thing where, like, yeah, there's a big galactic like deity war happening in Mr. Miracle, but like how much of it is really about the war and how much is the war just a reflection of the internal character dynamics. What else? What's a big character driven book? I don't know. You know what I'm thinking of. You can think of like big comic book stories that are really introspective, cool things about the character. Marguerite Bennett's writing right now in this beautiful, beautiful sweet spot right here, which is, it's got the elements of both. It's got some really interesting, introspective character drama, and it's got some really cool, big, bombastic plot, action stuff going on. So yes, like, this is all just derivative and connected to who Kate Kane is as a person and what drives her and what's underlying her. And, like, if you wanted to destroy Kate Kane, how would you do it? And the answer is to destroy the things she's put her faith in. But, like, how are they doing that? With this big, cool, scary idea of, like, spreading disease, you know, this big terrorist plot. It's a really cool plot thread, and it's a really cool character arc kind of thing, perfectly working together in this Venn diagram here, and I love it. She's knocking it out of the park, folks. Marguerite Bennett is a fantastic writer. She really knows how to balance these scales really well. And can I just say, like, it is a huge week for me this week on comics. It is also a really strong week this week on comics. Like, things are just fantastic all over the place. That's all it comes down to. All right. Let's go ahead and move along to Batman number 45. Written by Tom King with art by Tony Daniel. I gotta say, when Tony Daniel announced he was coming on Batman for a little while at least, and released this cover, I really, really like this cover. There's something about seeing the bat signal right there, lining up with where Batman's chest would be, the city of Gotham being a bat itself reflected in the water. That's really, really cool stuff. I really, really like that. I don't like the word balloon on it. The word balloon there really, really bugs me, and I don't like it. It's, I normally, I love word balloons and stuff like that on comics. Here, it's not as good. It doesn't fit the imagery here for me. I don't like it. So anyway, this is a really creepy ass story. This is a really creepy, scary fucking story. It starts with Hal Jordan committing suicide. Sorry, Hal. Like, the idea of opening a book with a superhero killing themselves in just a really creepy way. Oh, that is so unsettling. That was pretty good. That was pretty scary, pretty freaky. And this is crazy. Let me say that I think that I like this issue, or I don't think that I like this. I did like this issue. But something I think about Tom King that isn't necessarily a weakness of him as a writer, but is definitely a thing that I think causes people problems with him, is he has a tendency to write a character the way he thinks they should be, whether or not continuity supports that take. What I mean by that, and I've seen people that don't like Tom King have complained about this, so this is definitely worth bringing up. But I think he'll write a character and he'll have the way he thinks they should work, or he'll have a voice or a take on them from his perspective, and he'll write a damn good story with that particular take on that character, and you can't argue with the quality of the story and that character. But the problem being that this is a character with a history like any comic book character, and so his interpretations will often either contradict his characterization, or just, it feels like a major it feels like at least a departure, if not a major departure, from who that character is. And that gets really messy with comic books because they've been going for years, but there's a general narrative to who a character is. So yes, you can find a comic book that contradicts any kind of point you could make about Superman. Like when Man of Steel came out, Superman would never kill. Here's all these examples of Superman killing people, so you're wrong. No, yes, Superman has killed in the comics. The general narrative of the character, though, is that Superman does not kill. So there's these contradicting things. And I've definitely been on the other side of this with Tom King. Omega Men is a really, really well-written story that's really, really interesting and introspective, and it's really cool. But it also has Kyle Rayner do some really fucked up things that have long-lasting implications on that character. And as a Kyle Rayner fan, that's kind of hard to read. Because I do feel like he's a little out of character there. To be fair, he's put in a situation where he's going to be out of character. Or where, it's going to change who he is. So I think that's kind of what's going to be going on with here. I'm not a Booster Gold fan, so I don't mind this interpretation. But here we have what feels like a very removed, very weird Booster Gold. In that he's seen these awful things happening to people that he hangs out with and works with and probably considers friends, and he's kind of detached from it. Like Hal kills himself with the ring in front of him, and his reaction is, that was intense. Seriously intense. But also admittedly, a little bit, or kind of awesome. Like, that is a scary level of detachment. That kind of exists throughout this entire book, and especially once you get the premise of what the book is, or what the premise of the story, The Gift, is. Meets Batman shoots at him, Gotham City is a hellhole, there's all this kind of terribleness going on. Jason Todd survived, but now sells tires that kill Jokers. The Joker street gang, kind of like from Batman Beyond. Just all kinds of craziness going on here. There's really chaotic Gotham, and it's revealed why towards the very end of the issue. So I'm just going to read this whole thing. There's going to be a wedding. The Batman and the Catwoman. You got a wedding. You need a present. But what do I get for the man who has everything, right? I think you see where I'm going. I remembered that story you and Soups tell about the orchid thing, where Soups was trapped in his mind, trapped thinking like his planet survived, he had this whole life. Then Soups realized how things weren't so great in that what if scenario, and so he chose to come back from the orchid thing, and then he knew this life was better, even with the sad and whatever. That's a pretty good gift, you've got to admit. Knowing your life is a worthwhile life. So that's what I got for you for your wedding. See, Skeets here's got a little time machine in him. So we went back and saved your parents so you could, like, see what happens. And it's terrible, right? There's, like, Joker Hal shooting himself and everything's on fire. Batman's all into killing. Ugh. So now you get this moment where you see the terrible and get peace. And then we'll use Skeet's time machine and go back and, well, not kill your parents per se, but, you know, let them die is the implication there. So that's really fucked up. Manuel Cabeza says, well, to be fair, Booster Gold being out of character makes sense if you live in Joker world, but he clearly doesn't. He's a time traveler. So, like, this characterization of Booster Gold, I feel, is like this guy who just kind of sees time as the thing he can fuck with and do whatever with it, and there's no consequences. And, like, that could actually be a really funny gimmick to do with time travel. I wrote a thing once where I'm like, I time traveled, and I was explaining, and someone was like, oh, what about the butterfly effect, the implications? I was like, no, you don't understand. You're so tiny, you can't have any effect on time, no matter what you do, no matter what kind of contradiction you create. It's whatever, the universe is too big to notice. It's like, really? Yeah, and then all of a sudden, like, head explodes, and behind the person that was talking whose head exploded is that same person who just shot themselves in the back of the head. Because, yeah, you can just go back in time and kill yourself and you'll be fine. It doesn't create any paradoxes. It's just stupid joke, and like, to play with time travel like that when you're doing comedy isn't a big deal, but I don't know, this characterization of him being very removed, I liked it. I think it was really fascinating, and like, kind of the thing that I think a guy who time traveled to be a cool superhero might do, because he just kind of sees time as a thing you can fuck with. But I know that there are other people who really like Booster Gold, and I know there are other characterizations of Booster Gold where he's not really that douchebag that he puts on a portrayal to be. So this is quite a shocking way to portray his character, is just being willing to fuck with all this. Alright, so he's in this alternate timeline where everything's completely fucked. And he's got evidence that Bruce Wayne, being Batman, has had a positive change in the world. And so now he's going to go back and give Batman, go back to the normal timeline and show Batman everything that's good now. Except Bruce Wayne in that universe destroys Skeets. So he's stuck in this 1984 timeline. No, it's 1985. He's stuck in the Biff timeline, right? That's really interesting. And scary. And interesting. I quite like that. I thought that was pretty good. I got a hell of a kick out of it. That was not expected whatsoever. I really like all the I like these time travel alternate timeline stories quite a bit. They're fun just to, like, see what the writer wants to do. So, like, you get a bunch of cool references in here, like President Cobblepot, and you have Ra's al Ghul ruling in Eurasia. That's pretty sweet. So stuff like that was pretty cool. Seeing all the fucked up, like, the worst possible DC Universe kind of stuff. That was pretty fun. I enjoyed it. Again, seems like a dick move for Booster Gold to just fuck with the timeline like that, but that was pretty good. I quite enjoyed it. And so I think Tom King's is the wedding planned for issue 50. I think he's kind of just spinning his wheels waiting to get there. But yeah, we got Tony Daniel doing the art, and I really love Tony Daniel's art. Tony Daniel's not a great writer, but he can be a pretty decent one from time to time. But he is clearly a great artist, and man, Tony Daniel draws some really cool shit. I'm reliving Batman R.I.P. here with this Dick Grayson Batman. Oh, there's so much going on. Like, this looks like a Batman on the edge with very little, and then the fact that it's revealed that it's Dick is just so cool. Like a throwback to when Tony Daniel was writing Batman like 10 years ago, or drawing Batman, and he did some writing of it too like 10 years ago. Tony Daniel just does some really, really cool shit, and I really like it. It's a good book. It's a good book. The book is good. Good book. Good book. I love this Talia and Raz fight. It's so cool. So good. So good. It's so good. Alright. That's going to do it for Batman. Let's get prepared for this. Hour in almost. Yep, figured. Part of that's my fault. Sorry about that. Again, very embarrassing. Trying to laugh it off. Alright. Give me a sec. I'm going to do some disgusting stuff because I want the action review to be as clean as possible. I don't know what it is, but when I talk for a long time, I get all stuffed up. So sometimes I'll just get off camera to blow my nose or whatever, but fuck it, I'm just going to start doing it. I know it's attractive. I know it's professional, just like everything else on this channel. Alright. Let's go ahead and get into it and talk about Action Comics number 1000. Woo! Here we are. This is so crazy. I started reading monthly comics back when Action Comics 900 was right around come out. I think I started reading maybe a year before that. Maybe even within the year before that. And so 900 to 1000, I've now been on current books for a considerable amount of time. And it's just, it's cool to see. I got this today and I took it around to, I get my comics during my lunch break at work, and I took it around and showed it to a couple people. I'm like, hey, check it out. Action Comics number 1000, 80 years of Superman. Grant Morrison is kind of famous for making this point where he says, Superman was around for a long time before me. He's going to be around for a long time after me. And many, many more people will know who Superman is than will ever know who I am or was. So in a way, Superman's more real than I am. That's so incredible. It's kind of cool to hold a little piece of history here. And of course they released, I think, 8 different covers for Action Comics number 1000. For each decade of Superman, and this is by far my favorite for multiple reasons. This is the Mike Allred variant cover. I had to get it because I love Mike Allred. Mike Allred's art is absolutely stunning, and it has this beautiful, timeless quality to it. I love that about Mike Allred's art. You look at Mike Allred work, and you can never place it. I can never tell you when a Mike Allred thing would have come from. Any other comic, I can tell you the decade the art, or the decade it came out based on the art. Can't do it with Mike Allred. It's so beautifully timeless. It looks like the best stuff from the Golden Age, the most charming stuff from the Silver Age, the most reminiscent stuff from the Bronze. It looks so nostalgic here in the Platinum. Love Mike Allred's art. And then also just the to show the history of Silver Age Superman like that on this cover. And I love this checker banner up here, the throwback DC logo. I love that they put on an approved sticker, approved by the authority of DC Entertainment. I gotta talk to Ross Perosol about that on Twitter. I'm gonna have to message him about that and see what he thinks of doing something similar. Because Ross Perosol does the Super Team Family covers, which are really brilliant, and I'll have to see if he'd think about changing up that little aspect of it. But anyway, so Action Comics number 1000 is a really, really good Superman comic, guys. There's a lot of stories in here, and I think I'm just gonna tackle everyone with a really brief plot synopsis. I'm gonna apologize to the artists. There's some beautiful art in here, and I'll go through and highlight some pages and spreads and stuff that I really like, and images that I really like, but I gotta be able to get through this, and so I'm gonna give a brief plot synopsis and what I think of each story. So the first story is From the City That Has Everything. And this is written by Dan Jurgens, who I've talked about. Like, I'm hit and miss with Dan Jurgens. I usually tend to like a lot of his stuff, though it's not great. This, I think, was a really, really solid Superman story where he's dealing with an alien invasion, but there's a thank you Superman Day going on in Metropolis, and the Justice League works to make Superman think there's no invasion to deal with so that he can just be in Metropolis to be thanked by the people, because they need that too. They need to show their appreciation. But Superman doesn't want that. He doesn't want to feel like he's being so demanding or presumptuous of people like that. He's looking for any excuse to leave and not have to be there because he's so humble. And it's just really sweet. You get all these stories about people talking about everything that Superman has done for them and why he's so important to them and why they love Superman. And it's so great. It's such a great story. And then when he figures out that there is actually a crisis still going on, Diana shows up and tells him, no, we got it handled, but we're actually here because we want to say thank you too, because none of us would be doing what we're doing without you. And that's it's beautiful. I loved it. It's so beautiful. Really, really great opening story by Dan Jurgens. And again, some of the art in here is absolutely incredible. Like, I love this page, this right here of Superman coming to land and everyone's saying how, like, all the DC heroes there to say how thankful they are for Superman. I thought that was pretty good. All right. Story number 2 is The Never-Ending Battle by Peter J. Tomasi. This one was interesting. It was kind of like a walk down history for Superman. This reminds me of Whatever Happened to the Cape Crusader, which is really interesting because it's certainly reminiscent in ways of Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow. But Superman talks about how he was put in a trap and Vandal Savage was manipulating hypertime to put Superman in situations where he got to be the hero. He got to be Superman and save people, but he knew in the back of his head that this wasn't real. But it was always so tempting to believe it was real. So, like, he's talking about, I was in the 30s and I was punching bad guys who were so obvious they were bad guys. And then I was in the 40s and I was being more powerful than a locomotive in the trenches, fighting the war, saving the world from the dreaded menace. I was out in space helping little green men develop strange and unique power sources and building bridges. Then you get like the 50s there. And then it's like, oh, and I was fighting magic and crazy, contraptions and situations and capers. And so you get like, Superman versus a dragon or Superman versus multiple Supermen. That's right out of the 60s Silver Age. 60s and 70s Silver Age stuff. And then you get like the dark, gritty 80s when, even the world was turned on me. and I was still fighting, knowing that I had to get back home. And then you get like to the 90s, and you get, you know, the death itself couldn't stop me. I knew that I could make it. Vandal Savage was trying every trick in the book, but nothing could stop me. Not even Kingdom Come. That was pretty cool. That was pretty fucking cool. Vandal tried to use the past against me, but the past informs us, teaches us, and most of all, strengthens us. For someone so steeped in history, it's ironic that Vandal went and forgot the cardinal rule, that those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it. And so Superman got home so that his wife and son could wish him a happy birthday, and he could blow out the candles on his cake. That's a really good story. That was really fun. And just, the art, God, every page is just iconically Superman of that decade. That's so cool. Look at that classic shield, S shield on his chest. Everything about this, like, if you had to imagine Superman in that decade, that's perfectly it. So that was really, really solid stuff. Perfect name for it, too, The Never-Ending Battle. We get a pin up by John Romita Jr. Of Superman being struck by lightning, and this is a pretty cool one too. I really like this. It looks pretty sweet. I don't really have a ton to say about it. It looks really cool. My go-to is usually that should be a poster, and I don't know, maybe, I'm sure someone loves that, but not for me at least. Then we go The Enemy Within with a script by Marv Wolfman and art by Curt Swan. This was interesting. I didn't care for this one as much as some of the other stories. I thought it was just okay. There's a hostage situation with the guy that's being mind controlled by Brainiac. But Brainiac didn't realize that the will of the human spirit is too strong to be overcome and perfectly controlled. So Superman knew that there was really no threat at all because of the indomitable power of the human spirit. Yeah, it's a good message and everything. I liked it. It was sweet. Again, some beautiful imagery here. This kind of stuff with Superman I can never get tired of. So that was pretty sweet. Then we got a story of The Car by Jeff Johns and Richard Donner that is a big reference kind of look thing to Action Comics #1. Like, look at that green car, that old jalopy. It looks a lot like the classic green car that Superman crushed. And so here we get not the story of him picking it up and throwing it, but we get like a story behind the car and kind of like connected to the old style Superman, where he tells a guy who's, you know, kind of down, not treating people right and everything, you know, you got a couple options. You can either improve your life or you can junk it and I'll come back for you. And so the guy chooses to improve his life and improve the lives of others, and get this really great scene at the end where his cars are paired. So I thought that was pretty cool. I really like that. That's a move, you know, current Superman wouldn't necessarily do, but this Superman did it, and I kind of liked it. Then there is this story, which is The 5th Season by Scott Snyder. Now everyone knows I don't like Scott Snyder's writing on Batman very much, and it's made me not have a ton of interest in trying to check out anything else by him, because I don't want to just sit here and shit talk the dude. I will say this is the story I certainly liked the least. I didn't hate this or anything. I'm not going to sit here and shit on it. But this is certainly the story where I'm like, okay. And as I was reading it, I was thinking to myself, you know who this reminds me of? Scott Snyder. It's got a lot of the tropes of his writing. I will say, I feel those tropes are more appropriate here. Like, one of the things, kind of just little things that drove me nuts about Scott Snyder's Batman run is everyone had a fucking college degree and they could, like, perfectly explain things, like, historically or scientifically, and it was just, it felt so out of place. Here, with it being Lex Luthor and Superman, I thought it was pretty good. So this one, Lex and Superman are at the Smallville Planetarium, and Lex Luthor has stolen something that allows him to look back in time and possibly erase someone from history, but he got the chance to see himself as a child in the Smallville Planetarium and realized that young Clark Kent saved his life, so he didn't. He chose to save or spare Clark Kent. I got the eye and the scissors to kill you. I know you did, Lex, but maybe. And that's just how it ends. So I don't know. It was okay. It's certainly the one I liked the least. Anyway. Then we have the story of Tomorrow by Tom King with art by Clay Mann. This was really good too. This is really interesting where Superman is at the end of the Earth's life. Like, it's not like being eaten by a monster or anything like that. It's just at the natural end of the cycle of life. And I like where this is placed because Scott Snyder's story is like uses the framing of what the end of the solar system is predicted to be like in the background of this story between Lex and Superman. This story is literally Superman at the end of the Earth when the Earth will be consumed by the sun as it expands and becomes a red giant. I know I should have come more often. I get so busy. There's always another something. Someone needs help. But hey, I'm not so bad. I'm here once a year generally. If I'm not stuck in the Phantom Zone or the Black Hole Wars or whatever. So what is that? 5 billion visits, give or take. I still feel guilty though. Probably because this is it, right? This has to be the last one. We're here at the end of Tomorrow. With the sun's mass dropping, I really thought the orbit expansion would be enough to escape the red giant, but there's these solar tides just pulling the Earth back in. So anyways, yeah, the Earth is being consumed by the sun, and so Superman's talking to someone that he's visiting the whole time. And the big reveal in this is that he's visiting the grave of his parents. And Superman, of course, can time travel and do all this crazy stuff because he's Superman. But what does he use those powers to do? To do the super version of what you do, what I do. It's the beautiful thing of Superman. You know, Superman wants to play fetch with his dog. He plays it in space and on the moon. But he's still playing fetch with his dog, right? And so Superman goes to visit his family's grave, but he does it at the end of the world. So that's really, really beautiful. It's a really interesting story, and it's about, you know, the idea of letting go and how you never, every day it feels the same. You still feel the, oh, obviously I miss you, I love you every day. It doesn't matter how long it's been, it's still every day. I really like that. It's a really beautiful sentiment. This was quite good. Tom King sure does know how to write a story, it seems. And Clay Mann sure does know how to draw some really, like, it's very iconically Superman, but it's also got this tragic twinge to it that you normally don't see with Superman, so it fits really well. It fits the tone of this story so perfectly as he crafts one last little thing to leave on his parents' gravestone before the grave, the earth itself, is gone forever. Because he can't hold on to it forever. He has to let it go. Yeah, you know, the earth is expanding. He has to let the gravesite vanish. It was pretty interesting. I was pretty happy with it. This is a pretty good story. I know someone, I think it was Jake Carlson, messaged me because this story got released a couple days or a couple weeks ago actually, like officially by Twitter, and like it's something that got brought up was the discussion of religion, and Superman being religious has always felt just a little odd to me. I definitely believe he was raised Christian and probably believed growing up, but I always had a little trouble buying that Superman believed in God after the fact. Like after he got, cosmic level stuff. But like in this story, he's talking about, wondering why his dad goes to church and all that stuff. I didn't want to go. I wanted to hang with Pete, and I was testing you, asking how can you spend all your time on the science of farming and still do this? And you said you didn't want to see it that way. It was all the same. Science, religion, myth, stories. We're all just stardust fallen. And so we look to the sky and we wait to be reclaimed. Goodbye, Ma. Goodbye, Pa. And thank you for everything. And so I feel like Tom King's picking up on a really interesting idea. Tom King, of course, has a background in philosophy as well as being a CIA spy. Or not spy, he was a risk assessment. But anyway, he's got a background in philosophy. And so he's picking up on an idea here that I feel is a lot subtler and a lot more nuanced than people are probably going to give him credit for. So I don't want to spend a ton of time talking about this, but it is a really interesting discussion. So the prevailing wisdom of the internet atheist would be that, science is better than religion because it's provable, it's quantifiable, it's justifiable, and it's not just based on faith. And like, kinda, except not really. I'm an atheist. Let me say that. But like, just generally speaking, you're not running the experiments. Unless you are the one running the experiments, you're taking scientific findings on faith, on you trusting the person that's telling you these statistics, these results. And once you get into like weirder stuff with science, like M theory, like a lot of people like believe in M theory, the whole multiple universe idea, and the thing is that's only been proven mathematically. There's no way to like verify that in real life right now. And so you're taking something on faith of mathematics, but the thing is, math can be wrong, no matter how much work you do to justify it. You want an example of that that's really interesting. Math can be wrong, but give you results that work. So, like, if you go back to pre-Copernicus and Galileo, there were models of the solar system that took the observable things happening to the celestial bodies like the sun, the moon, planets. There are models of the solar system with an Earth-centered solar system that worked. Like the sun was predictable by this model. Things were predictable. And that was the science of its day. But the premise was wrong. So it was the math was worked to make it work. And it was really complicated though. So I think that's kind of what's going on with M theory. So this is all to say that these are all expressions of faith. That faith in science maybe you feel it's more justified because it's more objective and verifiable than faith in religion or mythology, but ultimately these are stories that you're putting faith in. And that's what I think he's touching on. Someone feel free to disagree with me, but that's what I think he's getting at here, is the idea that you put your faith in something. You as a person put some kind of thought or connection into a thing and that becomes your story. That becomes part of the background, part of the setup, the justification for your story. And I don't know, I feel that's a really interesting, nuanced point that has a lot to do, because at the end of the day, it all kind of leads to the same place. You still die. Anyway, what else do we have here? 5 Minutes, written by Louise Simonson, with art by Jerry Ordway. Clark's working on a story. He's got 5 minutes to finish, but then he needs to go be Superman to save a train and do some other stuff. But by the time he gets back from saving all the peoples, there's new news of Superman saving all the peoples. So the story's thrown out, and now there's more work to be done. It was a cute story. It was fun. It was fine. Then there's Action Land, where we're in some kind of futuristic society, and there's a theme park attraction of the life and history of Superman. And yeah, it kind of goes through the history and like what made Superman great throughout time and all this stuff. And then they talk about the thing that killed Superman. It was Mr. Mxyzptlk, but then they can't get the details of what exactly he did. And it turns out to just be all Mr. Mxyzptlk's fantasy. Yeah, it was cute. It was fun. It was fine. Not quite as deep as what is the structure of your faith based on. So, sorry about that. Walt Simonson pinup, really cool. It's interesting. It looks a little menacing here, but if you look at it directly, where you can see the smile kind of underlying everything, it looks a lot cooler. But you know, it's interesting to see Superman in the sun like that. That's cool. Then we've got Faster Than a Speeding Bullet, where Superman is moving at his top speed and trying to get in the way to block a bullet, but he knows he probably won't make it in time, if not for just a slight fraction of a second move from the woman held at gunpoint. So, I don't know. It was cool. It was fun. It was fine. Again, I don't really have that much to say. The art in here I thought was really good, though. This is great. Superman busting through a wall like that. That's really, really cool. Another pinup by Jorge Jimenez. Superman's sitting in the clouds. Throwback to All-Star, folks. Think I like it better than Frank Quietly's, though. Whew, that's really, really good. I really like that one. Oh, that's beautiful right there. Alright. And then the big, here we go. It's starting. You know, this is a celebration of 1,000 issues of Superman Action Comics. This is a celebration of 80 years of Superman's past. But you know what? This is a monthly comic book. And how do monthly comic books end? With cliffhangers, because there's always another story. The Truth by Brian Michael Bendis. Bendis is no longer coming. Bendis is here. They really screwed this up. They should not have put the Bendis is coming back. It should have been Bendis is here. And I'm really interested to see what Bendis is going to do. Jim Lee did the pencils for this too. I'm really interested to see what Bendis is going to do. I added Action and Man of Steel to my my lineup because I'm curious to see what's going to happen here. With Bendis writing Superman now, so you know I'm interested. So The Truth is a story where Superman's getting his ass kicked by this big scary alien guy that knows Superman's a Kryptonian. And the dude's just taking him and Supergirl kind of out left and right. He's really kicking ass right now. I will say my complaint here is these two women that help protect Superman while he's kind of unconscious for a minute are sitting there talking about the trunks being back. I don't like that. I really don't like that we're drawing so much attention to it. Like, I wouldn't have a problem if we wanted a reason for why Superman's wearing the trunks again. But I just don't need the story to be drawing so much attention to it. I thought that was kind of silly because we're not given a reason. It's just these two commenting on, oh wait, he's wearing the red trunks again. Well, it's kind of what makes him Superman. He doesn't quite look like Superman without the red trunks. Okay, fine, whatever. I don't know. I didn't care for that part of it, but the underlying story with this alien guy is really interesting because he claims to be making his way through the universe, wiping out the Kryptonian threat, as he calls it, the Kryptonian plague. I cleanse the galaxy of the Kryptonian plague, and I am here to finish the job. Your bloodline must end, once and for all. But this is it. The Kryptonian sickness fatally ends today, just like I once promised Jor-El when I destroyed the planet Krypton. As he stabs Superman in the chest. That's... wow. To go back and do the whole retroactive plot, I always kind of scratch my head at the retroactive plots, and I think they're generally not the greatest thing ever. Man, I don't like that it's bending like that. They're generally not the best thing ever. I don't like retroactive plotting most of the time. I think it's not lazy, because every writer does it at a certain point. We've got decades of history with these characters. Sometimes you need to go back and add something in order to tell your story. But it's just not something I usually gravitate toward that much. But I'm definitely interested to see what he's going to do. We clearly have a guy who's on a huge power level, so he's going to be a match for Superman, obviously physically, since he easily overwhelms Superman and Supergirl. I'm really curious to see what he's going to do with it. It's looking really, really cool. I hope John's going to have a big role in this, too. But yeah, I'm excited to see what Bendis has to do, and I really like that they included that story that like, this is leading into what he's going to be doing in this celebration anniversary issue. That's really cool to do. Landmark issue? Milestone issue. There's the word. Mike Manuel Cabeza says, Bendis said he's going to do what no writer has done with Superman in history, but I feel that Superman Earth 1 kind of did it. I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. All right. That's Action 1000. I got my fingerprints all over it. Oh, well. What can you do? It's not worth anything anymore. No. All right, let's go ahead and move along to Sonic the Hedgehog number 3. Again, I hate when I do that. IDW is continuing this month of brand new Sonic comics to kick off this new series, and I continue to have the same thoughts on it. I continue to think, it's pretty fun. It was pretty cool. Looks good. That's it, really. It looks cool. It looks fun. I'm enjoying it. In this issue, he's hanging out with Knuckles. Knuckles gets some cool little like visuals and stuff. As the art is probably my biggest draw to this right now. It's the exact kind of art style I associate with Sonic in my head, which is great. It's just fun. It's just a cool, fun little thing going on. I like this moment that happens in here where they're confronting these two guys who are kind of like holding a town hostage. And they're like, you looking to scrap? Then get ready to crumble. Brace yourselves for rough and tumble. And like Sonic sees that happen with these guys and he starts cracking up. It's like, oh, I was not prepared for this. And Knuckles is like on guard. He's like, careful, Sonic. They look highly coordinated. Knuckles, you're the salt of the earth. That's fun. That was cute. That's pretty good humor. Pretty fun stuff going on. And again, I don't know, I like the visuals. This is cool. Someone photoshopped the shit out of that right now. That's a t-shirt, you know? That's a great t-shirt right there. Sonic and Knuckles like that. Ooh, bam. You're welcome. Give me the money. Some cool action in here again. This book, or this issue, I feel breaks this gimmick that they'd been building up, unless I missed it somewhere along the line, of Sonic and the person he was teaming up with working together to do some kind of cool power move, because we had that with Tails in the first issue and Amy in the second. In this issue, you know, with Knuckles, they don't do anything like that. They work together the whole time. They don't have like that, you know, special combo team move or anything like that. So I was like, oh, okay. I was kind of liking that gimmick. It was just kind of fun. I was curious to see what they do with Knuckles, but whatever. Still some cool, fun art. I really like this is so perfect. This is like really charmingly great art to do in a Sonic comic. It's exactly what I think it should be. I love the character designs. It's that perfect middle ground between the classic Genesis games and the more modern style with Sonic. You know, we got like a taller, lankier Sonic, but he's not, you know, super tall. He looks right in that middle ground that's like just perfect, where he's not chubby Sonic either. So I like it. It's good stuff. It's good fun stuff. I enjoyed it. That is all. I don't have deep philosophical thoughts on Sonic the Hedgehog. Though I will say I got into a conversation with a guy at the comic shop about Sonic games. He's like, "Oh, Sonic, huh? I heard there's a good new Sonic game." I'm like, "Really? That's like a unicorn." And so yeah, we went back and forth about that for a minute. That was fun. Moving along, let's talk about the Brave Batman Wonder Woman, The Brave and the Bold, number 3 of 6, written and drawn by Liam Sharp. This one moved along the pace a little bit better. This one I liked a little bit more pace-wise, as Bruce kind of figures out what's going on in this world, kind of figures out the rules of it in a cool way, does his whole "I'm Batman, I know everything" shtick. So if you know anything about Celtic mythology, there's like this, apparently, I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm gonna assume Sharp did some research. There's this like myth that if you look through a stone that's had a natural hole worn in it by a river, then you'll be able to see creatures of fairy. And so it's just a cool little Batman knows a little bit about everything moment. I thought that was pretty neat. And he begins to figure out the ways in which this world works and how how the power dynamics are shared, but he doesn't think he'll be able to solve the murder here until he realizes that it looks like it looks like the events in Gotham are connected to this, so now he's like, okay, yeah, now I'm on this case, because now this is related to Gotham, too. We're also told that time doesn't pass as quickly out in the real world as it does here, so that's kind of cool. And Wonder Woman and Batman wonder if they can even save this world, because everything has a time, and these gods have not been worshipped seriously in hundreds of years. So maybe it's just deteriorating and falling into pieces because it's time to go. So that was interesting. Some cool ideas. I will say I am mixed on the way Liam Sharp draws Batman. Some panels are great, and some panels just, I don't know. It's the mouth, I think. Maybe it's that he draws kind of like a smiling Batman that I don't like. I'm not sure what it is. I'm not loving what he's doing with Batman. I think the bat on his chest is is a little too detailed. Like, it's got too many wing markers. But that's not a huge problem for me. I don't know, like, it's hit and miss when I'm seeing his Batman. Something about it's not quite working for me in this, at least in this issue. He's doing the whole side slits at the top of the cowl, and I always have mixed feelings on that as well. He draws Wonder Woman great, though. I love every panel of Wonder Woman doing awesome shit like that. That's cool. But, like, this panel of Batman, great. Oof. That's the kind of silhouette-y style Batman that I really love. Other stuff, I don't know. I'm kind of like, there's something about this panel I just don't like. Maybe it's the side splitty on the cowl. Maybe it's the lips. They stand out to me in a weird way. I'm not sure. Mixed feelings on it. Wonder Woman still looks great, though. Like, oh, there's some panels over it that just look amazing. It's beautiful work. Oh. Alright. I think that's going to do it for Brave and Bold. Not much to say. It's continuing the story. Manos and I talked about it. We're probably going to do a review of the complete story once all 6 issues are out. So, look forward to that. Oh, how's everybody doing in the comments? Going good, I hope? Man, I lost everybody. Only got 1 viewer. Sonic the Hedgehog just didn't do it for you, huh? Fine, be that way. Alright. Let's go ahead and go along to Bombshells United, number 16. Woo! Final book of the week. Here we go. So I've got to say, I've been kind of... Again, not complaining. I've never said that this story arc has been bad. I've said that I've really not been super invested in it because I didn't really care too much for the Batgirls of Gotham or for the Suicide Squad of the Bombshells universe that much. But this issue that not necessarily concludes, but, you know, begins to bridge the story into the wider universe of Bombshells, this issue was pretty good. And I mean, fucking roller skating Big Barda on the cover. Fucking roller skating Big Barda on the cover. Fucking roller skating Big Barda on the cover. That's cool as shit. So yeah, the Batgirls and the Suicide Squad have tracked down this mysterious signal that's controlling people's minds and making them have these creepy, smiley, beady-eyed faces. And causing them to commit acts of violence. They've tracked it all down to this evil volcano base, and Edward Nygma is at the center of all of it with the demon lady Roxanis by his side, helping him do it all. And they're trying to summon or they're trying to, like, welcome their true leader, the master behind all of this machinations and the mind control. And it's a great fucking reveal I didn't see coming from a mile away. Like, I'm not being facetious or sarcastic at all. It was a brilliant reveal. Margaret Bennett is a really good writer. So, Ed Nygma is sitting here talking to all these crowd people, and he says, oh, where'd it go? Then cheer for Rictanas, the benevolent matriarch, the beneficent mistress, the kind mother, the gentle lady, Granny Goodness. Granny Goodness and Bombshells, y'all. Damn. I was not ready for that. That was so cool. So yeah, Granny Goodness has been controlling people's minds, and causing them to commit acts of violence, and like she's preparing them to serve, preparing them for invasion, preparing them for apocalypse. So the Bombshells managed to use their broadcasting apparatus to let off a call for help to only one person. And the one person is, of course, Big Barda. Shows up and starts kicking the shit out of Granny Goodness. It was pretty cool. And the Bombshells all work together and start, beating back Granny's forces, and manage to undo the mind control that's been affecting people and preparing them for bootlicking invasion. And we get the ultimate reveal that Granny, little foolish children, you could have been ready, you could have been worthy. Your time is up. Look up. Look up. Look up. Apocalypse is nigh. And so we're getting Apocalypse in the Bombshells universe now. That's pretty cool. Noel Martinez says, I'm thinking about picking up the trades of it from your hype of the series. You fucking should, because it's good. It's good. It's good. That series is about to end, right? I hope not. I hope Bombshells isn't ending. I hope I would have heard about it if it was. And if it is ending, it's all your fault, because you didn't listen to me when I told you it's one of the best books coming out periodically. It's always one of the best books on the stands. And more people need to be reading Bombshells, so I hope it better not be ending. I'm going to have to look that up after the show tonight. If anyone's in the comments and wants to do some research for me, please, please, please. But yeah, I mean, just this was a pretty good issue, and so I've been saying I'm just waiting to get back to, the main team and see what their stuff is. And this ties back in, and what was going on here is affecting everybody now, and that's really cool. That's exciting stuff. That's exactly what I want it to be. That's tightly structured, well written stuff, and this is the thing about talking about comics month to month, especially stuff that is meant to be told in these like wider story arcs. I wouldn't have felt like I'm kind of, spin my wheels waiting to get back to the A story with the Batgirls and everything if I'd just been reading the book, because I would have just been getting all the reveals and everything at the proper time and not had to reflect on them piecemeal like this. So, pretty much anything remotely negative or of disinterest or anything that I said about the story arc thus far, it's out the window now. This has a fantastic conclusion / lead up to a wider story that's now affecting the rest of the Bombshells as we get to Apocalypse being introduced to the Bombshells universe. And so that's great. And I love it, and I'm excited. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for the weekly books. Time to do my episode on Trade Talk, and then that'll be the end of the show. So long to the live chat. Thanks for being here. And I'm just preparing myself mentally, physically, to talk about my trade for this week. So just give me a sec. If you're here live, if you're watching this after the fact, again, timestamps in description. You don't have to sit here for this part. 1 sec, please. Alright, am I back? Am I good? Is everything okay? Let's see if I do a refresh real quick. Yep, looks like everything's fine. Alright. Yep. Okay. Everyone, thanks for watching live. Let's go to the trade then. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Trade Talk. Here we continue Grant Morrison's Justice League with Rock of Ages. I love the way I time things. Avengers comes out next week, and I'll be sitting here talking about more Justice League next week. Oh, I don't pay attention to trends, and that's probably why I only have like 1,400 subscribers. But you know what? I love all of you equally. Anyway, so JLA Rock of Ages is, for my money, the hands down best Justice League story. This is the gold standard of Justice League. And of course it's written by Grant Morrison. This does shit that is just fucking unbelievably cool. Because, like, you think, okay, Justice League villains. Obviously Darkseid and the new gods and forces of Apocalypse come to mind. The other thing that comes to mind is, like, an evil version of the Justice League, which we get in here as well. And then the other thing that comes to mind is the villains from each member of the Justice League teaming up together. And so those are like three really popular things to do for antagonists for the Justice League. A threat so big that it requires not one of these heroes, but all of them to defeat it. And you know, these are episodes of the Justice League animated series, right? You have the Justice Lords episodes where you have an evil version of the Justice League for them to deal with. You have the like multiple Darkseid stories that happen in that show, which are, you know, big Darkseid scary threats. And then of course you have the entire like final season of Justice League Unlimited was all about the Injustice Guild, the Legion of Doom. Like that was those are those premises, right? Those are all those premises. So in Rock of Ages, you get each of those stories. And it's all one big story. You have each of those antagonists, each of those like really popular plots all condensed into one amazingly epic Justice League story. And that should be a fucking mess. And it's not. And that's great. That's what I really love about this. This, by all stretches of the imagination, should be a complete fucking train wreck. Because you have an evil version of the Justice League commanded by the Injustice Gang, and right in the middle of all of it, an evil Darkseid threat happens. It just shouldn't work, but it does. So yeah, what this begins with is this like chaos-causing evil version of the Justice League is created. And to cut right to the chase of it, it's created by the Injustice Gang. It's created because Lex Luthor is smart enough to recruit Mirror Master and Dr. Light, who are villains for different members of the League, respectively, and get them to combine their powers to create these programmable, hologram, blah, 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 evil Justice League. And so the first chapter is the Justice League fighting evil versions of themselves. And that's really cool, and it's fun, and it's neat. It plays really well, you know? And it's just really interesting. And so then the rest of the story arc is beginning as Lex Luthor's in control of a new version of the Injustice Gang. And Lex Luthor's evil plot this time was not to use the evil version of the Justice League to destroy the Justice League. It was to get information about how they worked as a team from the inside. To poke at them and really start to understand the internal workings of their team, so he would know how to break it down. And it's really brilliant the way in which he goes about that, and this kind of shows the genius of Grant Morrison. Lex Luthor's plan to destroy the Justice League is the same thing that a businessman would use in implementing a hostile takeover. And prepare for the corporate takeover of the Justice League. Like, that's really, really good. It's really cool. It works really well. And so, yeah, you just have Lex Luthor and the Injustice Gang, and he's got this genius plan to destroy the Justice League by separating them and making them, like, spread their assets too thin and stuff. And so it's just all kinds of craziness happening. And that's really cool. So Superman and John are trapped in a hologram of the Injustice Gang's satellite, and they have to find a way to get out of it. And the hologram's being manipulated and controlled directly by the thought patterns of the Joker. So it's just like in this panel here, this fucking infinite cave of incomprehensible madness. And so they're trapped, and they don't know what they're going to do. They don't know how they're going to get out. And Martian Manhunter shapeshifts his brain so that he can think like the Joker. And so once he does that, he's able to see the pathway through all the chaos. And that's... God, that is so fucking trippily cool idea that only Grant Morrison could come up with. And he sends Cersei to try to, recruit Connor and Kyle, because they're the newer, fresh blood on the team, and they're the most likely to betray it based on, finding stuff out about it. But meanwhile, Lex Luthor's doing all this crazy stuff because he has control of an alien with the use of the Philosopher's Stone. And that's what causes Metron to show up, and there's this whole thing about Metron. We need to find the Philosopher's Stone. He doesn't, and yet they don't know that Lex Luthor has it. And so Flash, Aquaman, and Green Lantern go off to deal with this cosmic quest now. And there's all kinds of craziness as they search the universe for the Philosopher's Stone and realize that Metron tricked them and sent them halfway across sent them to the other end of the universe, this place called Wonderworld, where everyone's a fucking giant and the cosmic stakes are higher than they could ever be. As Lex Luthor, meanwhile, back on Earth, though, Lex Luthor and the Injustice Gang are seemingly continue to press the advantage and really take things over in a bad way, transporting nuclear missiles onto the Watchtower that are armed to go off in 4 minutes. It's kind of craziness. And so, Flash and Aquaman and Green Lantern are stuck out at the other end of the galaxy, and they need to find a way to travel back home. I love the speech that Aquaman gives. You people are fighting battles on a scale we barely understand. If you won't help us, then send us back home to defend our own world. Don't tell me it's not possible. And the guy's like, beware of the rise of Anti-Sun, Magedon. Prepare the armies of man. Tell them Wonderworld stands ready against the terrible day that comes. That's pretty good. Oh, so anyway, the Flash gets them onto this, kind of crazy contraption, cosmic treadmill looking thing, to try to run them back to the other end of the universe and get them home. But then there's the stuff with the corporate takeover still, and Batman, being Bruce Wayne, is a businessman, so he understands the concept of the corporate takeover and recognizes those strategies being used against his company, the Justice League, so he's able to subvert it by, attacking it from within and buying out someone who is Mirror Master, who's a mercenary, so he pays him a higher price. That was pretty good. He pays him a higher price, but not like, here's money, now work for me, because then it's just a, buyback game with Luther. The money's gone into a restoration fund for the orphanage where McCullough grew up. Never underestimate the sentimentality of a Scotsman, Clark. I love it. It's beautiful. Anyway, so, Flash runs them all the way back to Earth, but they realize that they arrived at the wrong time, because they get to Earth and it's been overrun and is now under the control of Darkseid. And so here's where the Darkseid stuff comes in. Flash, Green Lantern, and Aquaman have arrived on Earth 15 years too late, and Darkseid has completely taken over the planet. And this all is the result of Superman destroying the Philosopher's Stone, which we haven't seen happen yet. So it's got this weird timey-turny stuff. But just look at this is where Darkseid comes from, by the way, for those of you that like Mr. Miracle. This is where that comes from, is Rock of Ages. And just shows you how fucking scary Darkseid is. So in this 2 issues, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, and the Flash have to use their knowledge to try to retake the Earth, get back in time, and stop all this evil from happening. And you get some of just the best fucking Darkseid dialogue in this. There's one point in which we just listen into a conversation between Darkseid and Desaad. New Genesis is a stinking cosmic sewer. I have fouled paradise beyond repair and broken in the mire the shining cities of the gods. I have won. Is this vanity? Then I will remake the entire universe in the image of my soul, Desaad. And when at last I turn to look upon the eternal desolation I have wrought, I will see Darkseid as in a mirror and know what fear is. And I love that he gives that speech as he crushes the last flower on New Genesis after he's already conquered that too. Oh my god. It's some of the best fucking dialogue. So the ragtag remnants of the Justice League in the future put this whole mission together to try to defeat Desaad and hopefully take back some part of the Earth before Darkseid arrives. And they get there and find out that Batman's already defeated Desaad and has been posing as him for the last couple months to figure out what Darkseid's planning. He goes, he wants to build a global concentration camp. That's really cool. I love the way Batman defeated Desaad. He's with me. Alright, yeah. 8 years. 4 of them in Desaad's psychofuge, experiencing all the physical and emotional pain of his victims. It ended 2 months ago. Battle of wits. I won. Very Batman line. Too good. Too good to be true. But anyway, you just get some really great Darkseid moments. I love this Glorious Godfrey bit. On your knees for the Master! The hour has come! He has come! Who is beyond good and evil? Who is the prophet of anti-life? Who is the rock and the chain and the lightning? All powerful, all unforgiven, all conquering. Who is your new god now and forever? Darkseid is. It's too good, man. It's too good. It's such a good moment. And the second issue is the Justice League trying to save the day, trying to defeat Darkseid and be able to send Aquaman and everyone back in time to make sure this world never happened. And I don't, it's all cool and interesting, but I just want to gush over some of the great Darkseid lines in here. My will is absolute. Yes, let me die for Darkseid. Please let me die for Darkseid. See what I have made. Imagine what is yet to come. I take away their confusion and give them obedience. I take away their fear of themselves and give them fear of Darkseid. I have liberated them from the chaos of indecision. I've given them one path, straight direction, one clear purpose, one goal. To die for Darkseid. As just Metropolis lays in ruin. It's so good. So good, y'all. Oh, man. So anyways, Justice League shows up to confront Darkseid and fight him and try to save the day at the last possible minute. And Green Arrow and the Atom are kind of the reserves. Batman tricks Metron. I love this. So Metron is under the influence of Darkseid and working for him. But Batman and the others come up to Metron in kind of the chaos and say, we have one piece of knowledge that we want to pass on to you before it dies with our race. And Metron's like, what could it possibly be? And he goes, God, you're a god. Gods don't feel, but humans do. You possess the power to become human for a brief time and record what it is like to feel, which you've never done. This is knowledge that you don't have. So become human, and you will have this knowledge. Metron's like, fine. There, I am made flesh and blood. Is this weight, this ceaseless particle movement, is this all? What is feeling that I should consider it worthy of record? Batman's like, well, one hitter quitter, bitch. It's so good. Oh my god, I love it so much. Do you see why I love this story so much? It's so perfect. So anyways, he pumps Metron full of drugs, and that way Aquaman and the others can go back in time, but there's still all the chaos going on right now to deal with. And I love this moment where Batman throws an exploding batarang at Darkseid and just gets caught by his protective shield like it would have done anything anyway. And he relays one quick message to the Atom and Green Arrow and tells him, hey, he's got a shield, but he can see. But it's Batman left alone with Darkseid in a room surrounded by parademons, and Darkseid's like, you overcame Desaad, do I know you? We've shared a few laughs. Everything you know, everything you own, I'm taking it all. Look up. And then part of their mission is to destroy this factory to create zombies for Darkseid on the moon. And Darkseid looks up, no, my zombie factory. You're all alone, Darkseid. Your allies have all fallen. Your troops have no guidance. How small you are. Yet, you have hurt me. I respect that. Therefore, let me show you mercy. Those are merely the finder beams. Next comes the Omega effect. And I love Batman's fucking go outline. You want to know why you're surrounded by all these maggots, Darkseid? Because you did what you said you'd do. You created the whole world in your image. And what you see in them is your own ugly face. Batman gets Omega beamed. And that's when Ray and Green Arrow show up, and they're left looking at Darkseid, and the Atom comes to the conclusion that since Darkseid can see, one thing can get through his force field. And he has Connor shoot the flare arrow. And the Atom becomes a photon, gets inside Darkseid's iris, and makes his way to Darkseid's brain. He's able to destroy it from inside. And so you get this amazing Darkseid story that's just an offshoot tangent part of this Injustice Gang story that had an offshoot tangent part of an Evil Justice League story. It all kind of winds back, and so Arthur and the others get back in time to save the universe, but we still have the conclusion of what was going to make Superman destroy the Philosopher's Stone. It turns out Lex Luthor's got the Philosopher's Stone. And so you have like the whole gambit of everything going on with Superman and the Injustice Gang and all this stuff as it's like this chess match, one-upsmanship back and forth of like, I planned for this, well, I planned for this, as the Justice League fights the Injustice Gang. It's so cool. It's so perfectly awesome. And it's just, it's beautiful, and I love it, and it's beautiful, and I love it. And then, just as Superman's about to crush the stone, Martian Manhunter gets a hold of it because he got a mental signal from Kyle. This is the only way to stop it from being destroyed. And you saw the awfulness that was about to happen if Superman destroyed the Philosopher's Stone. So they all get back to the Justice League Watchtower in time, and they've got the Philosopher's Stone, and they hand it back to the not evil Metron. But then he realizes it's not the real thing, and we get this final beautiful twist of it all, where it turns out the Joker has the Philosopher's Stone. He copped it from Lex at the last possible minute, and he's using it to remake the world in his image. Massive seismic disturbances, tectonic plate upheaval, weather patterns going out of control. As Joker says, a 10,000-mile-long grin from South America to Asia Minor. He's literally splitting the Earth apart to create a giant smile on the thing. And he has this stone. He's making his will manifest absolutely. Martian Manhunter comes up with the brilliant idea to telepathically connect with the Joker and repress the thoughts of insanity, to make the Joker rational for a brief moment. And as he's doing it, he's having the most difficult time. I'm making him sane, but I can't hold it for long. His mind is like a raging storm. And I love the Joker in this. Why can't I think of what have I been doing with my life? I've been insane. Oh my God, what have I done? Superman's, Joker, please give me the stone. You could do irreparable damage. Terrible. I've done terrible things. I have to do something right. I have to fix it. And Lex tells the Joker to use the stone to help save the lives of everyone lost in this whole book. And then, yeah, you get just this really cool moment of the Joker sitting there. It's like he saves lives. He's like, it's done. All alive. They never died. It's done. I think I need help. And then John goes, I have to let go. It's impossible to hold him together any longer. And so then the Joker's released and immediately goes back to madness. God, what a story. What just a perfect story for the Justice League, man. I absolutely adore this. It's so good, though. It's so fucking good. And then it kind of all ties back up, and there's all this cosmic stuff happening, and then there's this big decision at the end that they're disbanding the Justice League of America, and that's going to tie into the next arc, which I'm excited for. But just, this is the gold standard of Justice League stories. There's nothing better than this in Justice League. As far as I'm concerned, nothing's going to be a better Justice League story than this. I want to talk about the art briefly because, again, it is very 90s art. There's no getting away from that part. I talked about it earlier tonight on the live show where you can show me a comic and I can look at the art style, I can tell you the decade. There's no questioning this is the 90s, man. No question whatsoever, but that's okay. So if you can learn to love 90s art, you'll be fine. If you really, really despise 90s art, fucking deal with it anyway and read this great Justice League story. Volume 3 of Grant Morrison's Justice League, Rock of Ages, the gold standard of Justice League stories. If they ever want to adapt another Justice League movie from stuff in the comics, Rock of Ages. Just word for, like, panel for panel to screen, adapt it. Maybe get rid of stupid electric blue Superman's costume. I'd be okay with that, but otherwise just fucking straight off the page. It's so good. The one thing I didn't talk about, Aztec is in the Justice League in this, and this is the only arc where he's in the Justice League. I don't know much about him. This is the only thing I know Aztec from, but I believe he is a Grant Morrison character, if I'm not mistaken. I'm definitely curious to know more about Aztec and whatever happened to him, because he's written really well in here, but I mean, it's Grant Morrison, everyone's written really well. But yeah, Aztec's in this, and then he's gone by the end of it. He decides to leave the Justice League at the very end for reasons that come up in the book, but just something worth noting. This is like where you begin to see some of the odd symptoms of just everybody has to deal with this when writing Justice League. I think Morrison manages it the best, because, like, technically in this volume, Wonder Woman's dead, but Wonder Woman still gets to play a part in the dark side, alternate future. She's alive in that, and she gets to play a part in that story, and she's really cool there. But in the present day stuff, Wonder Woman's dead, because in continuity at the time, Wonder Woman died. And then once we get to the next volume, and I believe Wonder Woman's there, it's actually Hippolyta that's Wonder Woman at the time. And then, of course, the other, very obviously 90s thing is the fact that we got, Electric Superman. So it's dealing with just the crazy continuity stuff that you just have to deal with when you're writing Justice League, if you want it to feel like it's actually current. Whatever. Just whatever. It's not distractingly bad. You can pretty much ignore, once Wonder Woman comes back and it's Hippolyta, you can pretty much ignore that it's Hippolyta. He writes her just like Wonder Woman, so it's fine. Anyway, I think that'll do it for this episode of Trade Talk. Everyone, thanks very much for watching. Until next time, bye. And that'll do it for this episode of Comic Reviews. I did not expect... I kind of knew that was going to be a very long episode. 2 hours. Everyone, thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking through it with me. Hope you had a good time. Till then. Till next time.